Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Breaking the Code. One topic, no script. My name is Tim. This guy over here is Sal the Slab Guy. Down below is Uncle Gary himself, and right next to him is Archduke Kevy. Ladies and gentlemen, our topic for this week is top 3 stories. And Archduke Kevy was gracious enough to pick this for us, so he's going to get us started. But first, we've got some business to get out of the way. Give us about a minute and a half, and that gives you an opportunity to sit back, relax, get comfy, and enjoy some stories with us. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, don't forget to find us on all the socials. All you got to do is type in at the CODEX station, and that is where you will find us, your favorite social media platform, and where we're live streaming right now. Make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss more content like this all the time, every time. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we got a website. You can go over there for all your Codex needs. That is the codexstation.com. Make sure to get some merch, meet the team, and so much more. Sal, let everybody know where they can see your beautiful face and your sultry voice when you're not doing Codex stuff.
Why, thank you, Tim. It's my pleasure to.
Hey.
Hey. All right, guys. You can always find me on YouTube as their Sal's Comic Corner, and when Dan allows it, I'm on Instagram as the Slab Guy 77.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin, Dan doesn't own Facebook, but you own a small piece of it. What would that be?
I created a group over on Facebook called Comic Characters of the Day, which is also on Instagram when Dan does all the things that Dan does with Instagram. And I post a different character, and Uncle Gary there does a different cover every day, generally corresponding with my character. And we also put all sorts of other geeky love that we all are all about with this comic book love. We'd love to have you come over. That's a whole lot of love coming out of me right now.
Right on.
It's after dark, baby. Bring it out.
Right?
It's the 70s. It's free love.
Become part of our family, our cult-like family.
There you go,
Cult-like family.
ladies and gentlemen. And the guy that guards the door so we don't leave until we're supposed to.
That's
that
right.
would be the Ric Flair of comic books.
Woo!
Uncle Gary, when you are not here preventing us from walking out too early, where can people find you?
You can find me putting covers on Mr. Archduke. I see I'm going to get this point thing right someday.
That's why I do
both
this.
hands.
Like this. Do that.
on Kevin's Comic
Intuitive,
Character of the
I
Day
admit.
site. That's right. So usually I'll correspond characters, or today when I didn't get a character in time, I got to freelance and do a hardcover. Woo! So it was fun. But I enjoy doing that. And the name that's on there is posting the covers is Opie Taylor. I'm known as Opie Taylor on Facebook. Dan doesn't allow it, so I'm not on Instagram anywhere.
Right.
So
God,
Wednesday,
man, come
every
on.
Wednesday morning when the new books come in, you
Right,
can see me at Comic Logic. We're the only comic book store in Loudoun County, Virginia, and I would love to see you walk through the door. I'm proud, one of the proud owners of Comic Logic, so would love to see you. We're the only comic store in Loudoun County, Virginia, and we also do a Facebook Live show on the first 3 Thursdays of every month. The first one is a preview show where we talk about new books that are coming out through the Previews magazine. And the second and third Thursday is our Grumpier Old Nerd show, where we talk just old man nonsense and have a good time with that too. So if you want to hear what old men talk about, come watch the Grumpier Old Nerds.
It's
There you
mostly
go.
the leather in their knee.
That's right. And we close every show by saying, "Stay off our lawns."
Yeah.
That's right.
There you go. All right, let's get into our top 3 stories. Kevin,
All right.
this was your topic, so why don't you
Just
go
baby.
ahead? Yeah,
But
exactly. Why don't you go
here-
ahead and get us started with your first top story?
All right, are we going to do this? We probably should have established this pre-show. Are we doing this third place, second place, first place? Or are we just doing...
I would
our
say
favorites?
no particular order.
Okay, in no particular order, I got to go with Sandman. Absolutely, first thing that comes to mind. Neil Gaiman slaughtered that entire run. 75 issues, and then all of the offshoots. I couldn't get enough of any of that. Anything Sandman related, I was all about, and still am when it comes out periodically from time to time. The current one is Sandman presents Dead Boy Detectives, and Sandman presents um, Nightmare County, which is with the Corinthian. All great stuff. Anything Sandman, I'm all in.
Well, why do you like it so
Oh,
much, though? What
It's
makes
such
it
a creative
top for you?
story. It's such a creative story. They cover African fertility rituals. Yep, they cover.
Now it's a party.
Yep, they cover.
It's like
You wanna see
reading
that on
National
Instagram?
Geographic.
Yes, they tell a story about the world, the world as it is through the eyes of cats. They tell a story about how William Shakespeare was inspired to write A Midsummer Night's Dream.
That's my favorite issue.
Thank you. It's such the stories that they create, the individual stories are amazing, but the overarching story that weaves this all together, best thing I've ever read in my entire life. I'm all about the stories, and Sandman has to be the best one I've ever read. Period.
Okay.
Hands down. Number one answer.
Okay. All right. Sal, why don't you go ahead and give us one of your 3 choices for top stories?
Okay, this is really hard because I was hoping you would say top 3 DC, top 3 Marvel, top 3 because there is so many, and really any of these stories or any of these arcs I'm going to talk about tonight could be number 1 in my book at any given time. Okay,
Right. They're
But-
interchangeable.
interchangeable. I'm going to start off with Spider-Man's Maximum Carnage epic or storyline.
Okay.
That arc. And I really liked that arc because it showed a lot of growth in different characters, including Venom. And you got to see it spanned all the Spider titles going on at the time. So the Spider artwork at the time was really good at that time frame. I think it was Sal Buscema was one of them. I think Bagley was another one.
Buscema was on Spectacular. Bagley
Right.
was on Amazing. Lyle
Right.
was on Self-Titled. And
Right.
I can't remember his name. Starts with an S or ends with an S. He was on Web, but he was wonderful. Yeah, he was
Right.
what made Web amazing.
Right.
Literally.
Right. So seeing the different artwork across this storyline, and it involved
I'll
a
get his
lot
name.
of the Marvel characters, and I don't know. I just thought it was a very epic line for a lot
Alex
of the growth.
Saviuk.
Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
for Web of Spider-Man.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go. So
I knew there was
I
that.
just liked it because it brought in a lot of characters. You weren't overloaded with characters at one time. You brought in characters, other characters moved off to another section, and then like the other titles had different characters with them as well. So I enjoyed that epic, that whole story arc.
This was a
100%.
14-issue epic. This thing
Yeah,
was
it was.
enormous.
It even hit Spider-Man Unlimited at the time too.
Yep.
Mm.
It was the bookends, the front and the
Right.
back. Yep.
Right, exactly. So Spider-Man Maximum Carnage is one of them.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and throw my first one into the mix, and I'm gonna say the death of Superman. The death of
That's a
Superman.
stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, what?
The
Who?
death of Superman's storyline. That
Epic.
where Maximum Carnage was the book for. Excuse me.
Take a second there.
Allergies and stuff, guys.
Collect your thoughts there.
I'll be right back.
Oh,
I'll
Gary's
come
Uncle
back.
Gary.
Lost Gary.
I'm coming
Lost
back.
little Gary.
But Death of Superman, no. I mean, for Marvel, they had Maximum Carnage and Executioner's Song and things like that. The Death of Superman, the character that started everything, excuse me, that we love so much, went through the meat grinder.
Yep.
And you got to see the Justice League just get their asses handed to them.
Yeah.
And that one scene where Doomsday is coming like this and Booster Gold is like, oh, and he hits the button, and then pow,
Yeah.
sends him flying, and he's like, what am I gonna do? I need to get in touch with somebody, Superman. And then lo and behold, he's like, that's far enough, Booster. What the heck's going on?
Yes.
And it just went from there. When Doomsday and Superman started duking it out, they literally fought across half the country on
Right.
their way to Metropolis.
Yep.
And Dan Jurgens' work in Superman 75 still gives me chills to this day.
Yep.
This is my son's copy
nice.
of The Death of Superman. And yeah, this book's been read. He loves it. It's got a little bit of a tear right there, but that doesn't matter. The storyline,
It's got a little bit of love attached to it.
the storyline is absolutely fantastic, and this I think
agree.
it should be on the top of anybody's reading list and top 3
I
list.
did have a problem with that, in as far as like the DC establishes which of these 4 is going to be the new Superman. Who's the real Superman?
That's Reign of Superman.
None of them. None of
This
them.
is Death of Superman.
Death of Superman is tremendous. But that part bothered me because it's like,
Well, it's a good thing, Kevin, because Reign of Superman had nothing to do with the Death of Superman.
Well, you know, I'm
The
gonna
Death of Superman is an excellent call. I'll give it.
I'm gonna disagree with Kevin there. I thought I'm with you, Tim. The Death of Superman was a great book, and I thought that the Reign of the Superman with the 4 different. I thought it was a very well crafted tale to bring us back to Superman.
When I was a kid, I thought that the real Superman was Cyborg Superman.
Right. Well, right. And but that was part of. See, this is compare this story and compare where Bane broke Batman's back, and we had Azrael. Right. This is again. I'm more of a DC guy, right? But DC, I believe, is always focused more on the stories, where Marvel is the art, the splash. Compare those 2 great storylines, Batman getting his back broken, the Death of Superman, with the Spider-Man clone saga. The Spider-Man clone saga, they painted themselves into a corner.
Yeah, they couldn't get out of it.
They're going to be radical. We're going to kill Peter Parker. There was no plan. The Death of Superman and Batman breaking his back were carefully constructed stories that they knew how they were going to bring them back. They knew it was going to be full circle. And with the 4 Superman, they were giving you these 4 options, but it was a red herring. That wasn't it. And that was part of the story. Just like it was part of the story with Azrael, you were hating Azbat. You grew to hate him, and the fans hated him. That's the idea. So when Batman came back and took the mantle of the Bat back, you were like, yes. So I love the fact that they crafted these stories and they had how it was going to resolve in advance, and they took their time and they told these stories. So I thought it was masterful the whole way they handled all of it.
Absolutely.
So I agree with you, Tim. I was actually thinking it was a Cyborg Superman at the time.
Yeah, me too.
And I remember the exact panel that said to me, that's got to be him. And
was it in like when he first showed up or something like that, when he was talking to Lois?
No, it's when he I think it was at the Daily Planet building. There was a plaque memorial for Superman, and he picked it up and he like vaporized it.
Yeah.
And I went, ooh, I think that's our guy right there.
Because you knew Steel, wasn't it?
Well, I love the fact that Steel was already, like, Lois was going on, and he was like, well, now you're supposed to make us believe that you're the real Superman. It's like, I never said that I was the real Superman.
Right. Yeah, he cut everybody off right at the cuff, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm not Superman. I'm inspired by him, and this shield here is his, so I am taking his mantle. But, yeah.
Which I appreciated.
And what a great villain. What a great villain Hank Henshaw.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a great addition to the Superman villains, because the hard thing about a Superman villain is it's got to be somebody that can knock Superman on his ass.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and what, you know, Hank Henshaw's Cyborg Superman, that was a
We're
brilliant
gonna
Superman villain.
we're gonna have a whole episode dedicated to the death,
All right.
reign, and return of Superman.
All right.
I would love to sit down for an hour and do a master conversation on this.
Yes.
I agree.
Uncle
Moving
Gary,
on.
give us one of your top 3, please.
Okay, I got to say as qualifiers, I'm with Sal on this. This is way too broad, right?
Yeah.
Because look, so
And that's
first,
why I love. That's why I chose it to kind of pigeonhole you guys.
no, because first I'm like, okay, because like I talked about, you know, there's some issues that I love that are single issues, standalone. I put them in another category. And then there are long runs, like with what Kevin did with Sandman. That's a whole entire run that I just think is like too long for me to say, you know, because I was trying to treat this more like arcs, like a great arc, you know, that is at least multi-issues, but not the entire breadth of the series. Because then I would say, what's your favorite series of all time? So, but one thing that my favorite superhero comic of all time is something I waited for over 20 years, because this project was initially going to happen, and then Jim Shooter pulled the rug out of it, and I was heartbroken, as was George Perez. JLA Avengers.
So good.
JLA Avengers. And here I've got 2 copies because I put the back cover. I've got, you know, copy in the front. And I've got another copy in the back, so you can show both covers.
I think that is one of the greatest big 2 crossovers ever done.
It was just a masterpiece, and it was worth waiting for. And on this particular issue, so like I said, I've got it.
Yeah.
George Perez drew 206 characters.
And he's a master at that.
And then the book I always like to point to people and say, how can you look at this book and not read it, is this.
Oh.
So again, Tim, you talked about Superman, Big Blue being the first. He begat everybody else, and we have to give him that credit, and they did here. And to have him holding 2 of the most iconic images in comic lore.
The good thing is in that issue, like, they're deciding who's going to lead, and Superman's like, Cap, you need to do it. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do this. You have to do it. Take the shield and lead us to victory. And Thor was like, here's Mjolnir. You are worthy of holding this.
Well, yeah, Thor threw it. Thor was being overwhelmed. Superman, you know, they had to break through the barrier, and he throws the hammer, and then
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Right, and they recreated that in Endgame, right?
Yes.
When Cap is standing there, that's recreating. That's an Easter egg to that cover, which is so magnificent. And
I knew it.
Yeah, that was so great. But that was a homage to that cover. And Busick was, listen, there were fun things in life, like Quicksilver constantly getting pumped by the Flash. I mean, how great was that? One of the characters you hate the most. But one of the little subtle things in that series, I mean, look, as fans, we're going gagas to see Thor and Aquaman talk about the royalty, you know, how the responsibilities of being royalty was amazing. You know, the archery between Green Arrow and Hawkeye, I mean, was cool. But one of the really, and of course the Batman Cap fight was one of the greatest things ever. Yeah, it was a bit. I mean, listen,
when they were like, okay, we could do this for hours,
all day.
Yeah. And nobody would be better than the other.
Well, I think Batman says, all right. I mean, at first it's just they're changing their stances.
They're testing. Yeah.
Right. And they're not even striking one another. It's just the way they, you know, the way they're, you know, getting defensive to compose themselves. And Batman says, all right, Avenger, it's conceivable that you could defeat me eventually. But is that how we should spend our time? Or do you want to, you know, should we pool our resources and go after what the real threat is?
The two smartest thinkers.
Oh, absolutely.
Cap was right on board with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I think is, this is a little thing, but I think this is brilliant. They had the Avengers world was a little bit smaller than the DC world, and the Avengers they go to the DC world and they see the people are adore the heroes.
Yeah, and they
love
couldn't
the
handle
heroes.
that.
They love the heroes. DC heroes go to the Marvel world and they are protesting outside Avengers Mansion. They hate them. They're pissed off. They're protesting. And so the two groups, when they first come to Loggerheads, Cap is like, who are you to set yourself up as gods and have these people have to worship you? The Justice League is, you're fine when to talk. What the hell have you done to these people? Why the hell do they hate you?
Oh God!
Seriously, how brilliant was that? Right?
Yeah.
That's
That was
another whole
magnificent.
episode.
No.
Justice League versus Avengers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that story is pinnacle crossover from the big two. I think that
Yes.
it is a must read, and it is a masterwork in storytelling with a bunch of characters that deserve single issues devoted to themselves in this thing. So good.
Oh, it was magnificent. And look, for a guy like me that was crushed in 1984 when this was scuttled, it broke my heart. And then the art that Perez had done, was leaked out to fanzine. You could see he had done like 15 pages of it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. But it finally happened. Perez, there were some hoops that were jumped through for him to had an exclusive contract for him to be able to do this. But this was his masterwork, his magnum opus.
I think he was doing Avengers at the time, wasn't he?
Well, no, he was doing he had signed on with some independent company.
Ah, got it. Okay.
It was some kind of independent company, and he had some kind of little bit of loophole time that if this was to come up, he could do this. And Busick wrote a wonderful script, and it was just, again, my favorite superhero story, of all time is this mashup of the greatest teams that each company had. So, loved it.
That's a great choice, man.
Thank
all
you.
right,
Yeah,
Kevin.
Totally
Keep this energy going, man. What's your second pick for top?
My number pick, I know that I'm kind of going off of a theme here, but I gotta say, Neil Gaiman is like my favorite author. So I gotta go with the 4-issue limited series that started it all with the Books of Magic.
Okay.
He created a character, Timothy Hunter, who's destined to be the most powerful mage of his era, who is a teenage boy living in London. Now, before you say anything, this came out before Harry Potter.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
I wasn't even thinking that.
Well, no. I just people think it's derivative.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. J.K. Rowling might have been derivative.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So it establishes 4 of the characters that ended up being called the Trench Coat Brigade. Had John Constantine, it had the Phantom Stranger, it had Mr. E, it had all sorts of dudes in trench coats being interested in this teenage boy. Which, when I say it like that, sounds absolutely horrible. But
is that the Flash Brigade?
But they say, okay, here's the deal. We'd like to take you and show you.
That doesn't sound any better.
No.
It doesn't. We're going to take you and show you all about magic, what it's all about, what it can do, what it can't do, what its limitations are, the cost of everything. Will you
that dude from Catch a Predator knocks on your door.
Right. But we'd like to take you around to see magic. Would you be interested in doing that? And he's like, sure, I'll follow you. And at the end, they show him everything. And they're like, would you like to learn about this? He's like, hell no. Are you kidding me? No, it's horrible.
But I don't want anything to do with this.
But John Constantine, being John Constantine, I'm not going to ruin it. You should definitely read it. But there's a loophole and a twist that M. Night Shyamalan would be like, damn, that was good. I didn't expect.
Wow.
And it's so good. And it started off, I have 3 of the omnibuses of everything that happened after that, but it all started from that 4-issue limited series, Neil Gaiman's The Books of Magic, and
Fantastic.
it's great. Do yourself a favor. If you haven't read it, go and get yourself a copy and watch and
I'm
read
gonna
that.
have to.
It's great.
It's good. It is very good, and they were done by 4 different artists, so you got 4
Oh,
different art styles. So that was
Wow.
very cool too.
Yes, it was. I remember the painted one. It was
Mhm.
beautiful. The artwork is tremendous as well.
I'm not a big fan of when they do stuff like that, unless it's like integral to the story, like each issue tells a different perspective.
Well,
or
each
something like that.
character, you had Hunter with Constantine 1 issue, Phantom
Mm.
Stranger 1 issue, Mystery 1 issue, and Doctor Olcott the other one.
Yeah.
So each issue had a different chapter with a different
Right.
with the different characters. So it made sense when you did it. You know,
Nice. See, when
Like
they do it like that, I dig the crap out of that because that's that character's perspective or the way
Yeah.
they view the world, and I love that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so my next choice is another 80s classic. I think this is one of the best Spider-Man stories ever written, and I think it's definitely one of the best Marvel stories ever written, and that is Kraven's Last Hunt.
Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Thank you.
If they would never have brought Craven back and left him dead after this spoiler alert, it would have really, really made this story all the more impactful. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have not read Craven's Last Hunt, it's 6 issues, goes across the 3 Spider-Man titles that were going at the time: Amazing, Spectacular, and Web. Iconic covers are in there. Mike Zeck. Yeah. What was it? The Web. It was Web of Spider-Man where he's coming out of the grave, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I did that as one of the covers. Yeah, I've used that.
Yeah. So good. And it's all about like throughout the course of Craven's history with Spider-Man, he's been trying to get Spider-Man and to seal that hunt, and finally he does. And what he does afterwards, and then the ultimate climax of the story itself. Forget what Zeb Wells is trying to do with Spider-Man. This is Peter Parker being put through the paces, put to the ultimate test, failing at that, and having to metaphorically and literally resurrect himself, all in 6 issues. And this is so masterfully told. It is extremely well written. The artwork and even the sub story with Vermin falls right in with this. No page, no panel, no word is wasted, and this keeps you so intrigued through all 6 issues. If you haven't read it, you absolutely need to. I can't recommend this enough.
Who is the writer again?
Straczynski,
Yeah.
is that right?
Is it Straczynski?
I believe
It
so.
was
Let me
the
double check.
darkest Spider-Man story I've ever read.
And
Oh
Beatty,
yeah.
And Beatty inked it, so we got to give Beatty some credit too. The Beatty and the Zach.
So Demetis wrote the Web of
That's it.
Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
And let me check the Amazing. It might have been Demetis all the way through.
You know what? I think it was.
Yeah. That's the one that they give credit to.
I
for
think
that.
it was too.
And I think that's the greatest Spider-Man story ever told. I'm with you.
Oh,
Yes, I agree.
yes.
And you know,
Yeah, it's Demetis and Zek all the way through.
you read that book, for anybody that hasn't read it yet, just read it in a vacuum. Read, get the trade. There's hardbacks. Read this, and don't even think about what they've done with the characters since. Just read that in a vacuum. Tell that story and put it to the side and let it exist as its own story to the side, and it'll retain that impact.
Yes.
And it is powerful.
It is. It really is.
I will throw this out there. There is, if you guys are easily triggered by trauma or anything like that, this book has a lot of it, including self-inflicted trauma and stuff like that. So if that's something that you have a hard time with, then maybe you should pass it up. But I will say this:
If that's a trigger,
yeah, my brother passed away from suicide, not
yeah.
exactly with what's depicted in the book, but he did.
Yep.
And I don't have problems reading this book. It's kind of a comfort for me to read this book and not have problems with that kind of a trigger. So if that's worth any value to you guys.
Sorry to hear that, Tim.
It happens. It was over 10 years ago. He's in a better place, and I'm done shedding tears for him. So there's that. I love him. He was an awesome brother, but he got the last of my tears about 5 years ago.
Wow.
So,
God bless you, man.
so thank you.
Yep.
All right. So moving on, Sal.
Oh, well, how can I follow up that one? That's just that's a tough one to actually follow. Jeez, Tim, come on. Okay, so I'm going to go to the DC side, and I'm going to actually go with the arc of Nightfall, Night Quest, and Knight's Return. The whole damn epic.
The
Okay,
whole
yeah.
saga. That's like this.
I
big.
know. It's
Go
like
big, baby.
It's right.
It's so
But
worth it, though.
It is. And there's a lot of little things in the story and in the covers that just were awesome. And to be honest with you, I loved Asbat when it first happened. I thought it was badass.
He was
The
so
costume,
cool.
everything. But then I was like, towards the end, I was like hating him as Batman. 'Cause, and I was wanting Batman to come back and kick his ass. And he didn't really have to kick his ass too much. He just had to prove to him that he was the Batman.
Right.
And at the end, that's what basically happened. But he still, beat him down and took the mantle back. But if you notice on the covers, there is the bat symbol, and as he is broken, it slowly eclipses and then slowly comes back to the bat symbol across the whole arc. And that's little details like that I just love. But the story itself, Gary, I think you called it. They just well laid it out.
Yep.
And they had a plan from start to finish, and they didn't rush it. They executed it perfectly. And I loved it. The whole thing. Now we're talking Nightfall, Knight's Return, Night Quest.
Nightfall, Night Quest, and Night's End.
Yeah.
And I would say if you're gonna read it, read all of it. All of the offshoots were just as good and tied into the story. It was.
Well, I think the
omnibuses
and trades cover everything, like all the.
I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you just read the main storylines about all of the other.
And Sal, you picked out a nuance I glossed over. I said, the fans hated Asbat, but yes, in the beginning we all liked him, and he was badass. He was armored, but then as he got more extreme, we realized that that this is bad. But again, masterful storytelling. They made you like him. And then he just kept going further, and then we were like, oh, like you said, you're like, oh my God, he can't be, Batman's got to come back and take it.
Who was it that said that the whole Nightfall saga gave us the Batman we wanted, but we didn't know we didn't want that? Like, I think at the time people wanted Batman to be excessive and extremely violent, like more so than he was borderline murderous. And when DC gave you that, not as Bruce Wayne but as John Paul Valley, I think it might have been Jamie that said that, all of a sudden it turned into like, man, this is not what we wanted at all. This is not the Batman we wanted. Well, this is what you asked for, so here it is for the next 2 years.
But they knew that this was their plan, though. This wasn't they did this and then had to find a way out. This was the masterful story they had plotted out well in advance.
I think it put into perspective just how much Bruce Wayne holds back as Batman. Like when someone else takes over the mantle, they go all over. I mean, they go breaking teeth, breaking bones, getting close to ending lives. And
here's another. There's another thing that I would add to that. If you like the trajectory of what you read with Knight's Fall, Knight's End, Knight's, after you read that, read Batman Prodigal.
Yep. That's also part of it too.
It is the continuation of that story, and it's great as well. It seals everything in. Seals on
I agree.
Nobody seals on the flavor.
Nice.
So it seals in the flavor, just like the bat suit. So I just want to call out two scenes in there, or basically almost two panels at different times in there, which kind of proves the point Uncle Gary was saying with the story plot. So Batman's back has been broken. They needed an experimental drug. Gordon sets it all up to get this experimental drug, and he's like, "What do we do with it?" And they're like, "Well, just leave it on top of this van." And Gordon has guards all around it, and all of a sudden you see a zip line come in, snag the thing, and yank it out. And Gordon gets pissed because he's like, "What the hell? You know, we had people watching this and doing this," and he goes, "Why don't we have a better task force or whatever?" He's like yelling at his people for not being good enough to watch over the bat or watch over the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Montoya, I think, actually turned to him and said, he's probably got people of his own. And then Gordon's face was just like, yeah, right, And he didn't like put that together that there's probably a bat people or a bat family looking out for him as well, and that kind of like toned Gordon down, or knocked him down a notch, because he was literally just going off on him. The second panel, or the second thing, which I really loved, and this just has stuck with me, is Robin is talking to John Paul Valley in the Batcave about Batman, being the Batman, and he's like, Robin's telling him, you can't go that dark, you can't go into that darkness because you won't come back from that, and he goes, I gotta fight fire with fire, and he goes, I have to use fire to fight this fire, and because I've got to be the best one out there, and I've got to prove this to all of Gotham that I am the Batman. And you can just see on Robin's face going, okay, he's starting to go off the deep end here, And that's when he actually then goes off the Nightwing and says, hey, I think we've got a problem here. Red flag. But he's like, you could just see the look on John Paul Valley's face. It's like, I gotta use fire to fight fire with this, to take these thugs out, that type of thing. You could see the rage built up in him, and that was like the turning point for a lot of people. I think of starting, okay, this Asbat is a little too much. We're not gonna like this one, but we'll see where this pans out. And then then of course you ended up hating him because he was too much.
Well,
so that was, I think, the start of it.
It was how he was talking to Robin. He actually beat the shit out of Robin. I'm like, no, you don't.
You don't do that to.
You don't mess with Tim Drake. Tim Drake is my guy. He's under my protection.
I don't know. Right. World's Finest 153, Batman, bam, Robin. So.
But that wasn't Tim Drake, so
it was not.
Okay, so Uncle Gary, I think you have your second pick that you still have to give out, right?
Yeah. All right.
What do you got?
Like y'all with epic stories, you're gonna go big or go home. This book is big.
Uh-oh.
Blackest freaking Night, baby.
Ooh, Jamie would love you right now.
Blackest Night.
Also,
this, for my money, is my favorite big crossover event ever. Look, I got a lot of love for Crisis on Infinite Earths. I have a lot of love for, Secret Wars was fun, and Crisis was important. But this, from start to finish, now I have all the smaller volume hardbacks and, of course, all the issues. This was magnificent. And John's had, I'm probably going to get at least some kind of Blackest Night signed by him in Baltimore this year. But he set the seeds for this up when he created the Light Corps in the Green Lantern book. And this built. And when the Black Lanterns were created, one of the greatest scenes in this is when Black Hand becomes a true Black Lantern. Do y'all remember that scene?
Oh, yeah. I do. I've only read the main story. I haven't read any of the stuff.
I'm pretty sure that was in the main, but when he becomes a true Black Lantern, that was one of the most shocking, it was a full page that he did, it was one of the most shocking scenes. I mean, it's a self-harm scene, but I was like, oh my God.
Seeing those rings just go everywhere.
Yes. And and it was just such an epic storyline. And one of my favorite heroes, Aquaman. So he had been a dead hero, and to have him come back as a Black Lantern, and these other heroes that had been deceased come back. Oh my God! There was a scene where the Hawks were dead, and the Atom has this phone trick where you can travel the phone lines and go through the phone lines.
I know what you're talking
and
about.
The Hawks, the dead Hawks, are on the other line, and he's traveling to them. Oh my God! And just creating, like, Murrah, still pissed off that Aquaman was dead, becomes a Red Lantern, a Rage Lantern.
Yes.
Luther
is an Orange Lantern.
Yeah. Luther was an Orange Lantern.
Yep.
Luthor. Scarecrow was a
Yellow Lantern.
Fear Lantern. Yep.
Dude, the Flash, Barry Allen got a blue ring. Like, you need more power than that. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Hope. Well, it was Hope. It was all about that.
I get it. But
one of the coolest things about so whenever there's a big crossover like this, right, and we have all the tie-in issues, right? So the Cynic is going cash grab, right? That's what we've seen, especially.
Yeah.
Every tie-in in this thing was magnificent. Every single tie-in was wonderful. The Superboy tie-in.
Oh yeah.
He's defending Ma Kent from the Black Lanterns that are coming to kill her. Ooh. He and Crypto, maybe the Teen Titans, I can't remember if they were involved, but he's fighting them off and saving Ma Kent, the Connor. This is one of my favorite depictions of Connor. Kent, and he's fighting for her. That was amazing. And then another cool thing they did is one of the tie-ins was issue 93 of Jonah Hex. Issue 43 of the Atom and Hawkman. These are dead titles.
These are the ones where they did another issue.
Where they did another issue on a dead title.
Yeah.
I just thought it was brilliant. The whole thing.
Because they did the question.
Yes. Yes. There was a question issue. And then we have a mass resurrection event with the White Lanterns that was so satisfying because there were so many characters that were gone in DC at the time, like the Manhunter, the Hawks, Aquaman. There were villains too. Boomerang came back. I think Max Lord came back.
Yeah.
So, but one of the coolest, most amazing, mind-blowing things was seeing Deadman alive.
Yep.
I was like, of all the resurrections, that's the one that blew my mind the most because Deadman is supposed to be dead. That's his raison d'etre, right?
Yeah.
That's it. To see him alive and Boston Brand not knowing what the hell to do, that he's like, and of course this flows into Brightest Day, which was also very good, also wonderful. But again, that is one big tome, and damn, it is just every tie-in, everything. I'm drinking all the Kool-Aid on all of it.
Nice.
Right on.
Let me ask you this though: was it in Brightest Day or the Blackest Night series where Aquaman was summoning dead sea creatures?
Yes, it was there.
That was Blackest Night, right?
It was Blackest Night.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was at the crossed over to the Brightest Day.
Okay. So I think what had happened, there were some remnants of what. Yeah, there were remnants where there were still dead creatures. It carried over, but the dead Aquaman was summoning the dead creatures. And I have the alternate cover of Blackest Night 2, where Aquaman, it's a Finch cover. He's looking in the water, and then there's the dead reflection of himself and the dead fish underneath that is looking back at him. There's a really cool cover. But yeah, there was something he was working through where he was summoning things and the dead were still coming to him. But it carried through. And Swamp Thing returned in that too.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing returned in that too. But like I said, I just think that was Jeff Johns at his absolute magnificent best.
He was made to write Green Lantern though.
Yeah.
Like, that was the only thing he ever wanted to do.
And it was just masterful. Everything Johns did. And to come up with the concepts for the whole light core of the lanterns, even coming up with the impurity in the ring was Parallax put into the ring. So
Usually when they resolve crap like that, it's like, oh, that is a cheesy ass excuse.
yeah,
Yeah.
With Parallax, it was like, no, that was that. Yeah, I bought that.
Well,
it's why the rings were, why yellow, the rings didn't work on yellow, and then it was, it was, the big joke was you could kill Alan Scott and Green Lantern with a yellow baseball bat.
or
Not
number
anymore.
2 pencil.
Yeah,
Or
because
number
the
two
Alan
pencil.
Scott
Yes.
Green Lantern's weakness was wood.
Was wood.
yeah.
Yep.
So a yellow baseball bat would have taken them both out.
Wow. Well, let's go ahead and bring this to the final third of our top stories. Kevin, give us your number 3.
All right. So there are many good crises, but I think one of the best stories that I've ever read is Identity Crisis.
Ooh,
There
so
were-
good.
Yes.
There were
That's a good one.
consequences. They took villains and made them villains again.
When Batman figured out that he had his brain messed with, he's like,
Yeah.
what?
Zatanna was doing things that she
Yep.
was like, I don't know if this is the right thing or not, but people are convincing me that it is, and I'm lying to myself and I'm justifying. They have scenes in there that I could not believe that they got away with portraying.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's some sick next level shit that they show in that.
But
And
the
the story is so amazing.
it's Meltzer, Brad Meltzer,
Yes.
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Right.
He's a novelist, and he came over to comics and wrote some amazing comic
Yep.
books. Identity Crisis being
Oh.
one of those. The
Yep.
story, as traumatic as it is, and as some of the triggering events that take place in there
Right.
are, the
Yes.
story is necessary, and it is such a good one. What happens with Elongated Man,
Oh.
dude?
There's
The
one scene
ending.
where you're like, you if you didn't like at least felt a little bit of like tear
Emotion.
Yes.
stimulation coming your way when you saw that one scene, you have no
Oh
soul.
yeah.
I'm sorry, that was just heart wrenching.
Whoa.
Yeah, Ralph. You felt for Ralph. Oh my God.
Hardcore.
And as a longtime DC fan, Ralph and Sue, that was the love story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ralph and Sue was the love story, when you love the character, and oh my God, what a just gut wrenching.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. That's a
And who did it too? You're like, that's not who I expected at all. It was amazing.
we'll leave that as a mystery.
Right.
I have Meltzer. I saw him at a book signing at Barnes and Noble, and I took comics, and he signed a hardback of Identity Crisis for me. He said, "To Gary, you're my hero, Brad Meltzer."
Did he give you any insight about Identity Crisis at all?
You know what? It was. He had some of his other books that were out. So there were, like a Washington Spies, I think is what he had out at the time. So I didn't have a lot of one-on-one time with him, but I got to tell him how much I loved it and how much I appreciated his comic work and all that. But I didn't get into the nuts and bolts of what would you have wanted to ask him about it?
Motivation, inspiration. Why choose that story and those events
and those characters?
Yeah. Why those characters specifically?
And I will tell you this. This is something I didn't remember, but I remember that I didn't remember at the time when I read Identity Crisis. I'm not going to give away who did this, but we all know who committed this crime against Sue. That person had their minds messed with in other issues of the Justice League. They had been captured and their mind had been messed with to create an instability. We did this for a book club.
Interesting.
And one of the gals that came there, she's a novelist herself, and she wasn't happy a little bit with the culprit because she thought it was a common trope that this is who would have done it. And I didn't remember that character had undergone trauma to their brain in earlier issues. So Meltzer took that character and did that, and I'm sure he knew that.
Oh yeah. That man does his research.
Yeah, he did his research, so it made perfect. So I wish I had remembered that during our book club to respond to that one criticism.
And let's talk about the Michael Turner covers for
Oh,
Identity Crisis.
Yeah,
I mean,
nice.
those are some iconic, classic
Very.
covers.
And the Tim Drake and his father.
Oh,
jeez.
Oh, yeah,
with Boomerang.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Everything about that was just amazing.
I've got the hardcover trade over there. I'll be reading that tomorrow too. So,
yeah. Well, and like you said, when Batman, not only Batman find out that his mind was messed up, when he finds out when he realizes
yes,
yeah,
and the faction within the league,
yes,
how there were certain ones that weren't there that would have never let that happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was interesting.
When they said Superman, he's lovable, he's gullible until he realizes that you're manipulating him, and then he's none of those things anymore. I love that line.
So,
I
yeah.
thought that was amazing.
Just another little line when they have the church service for Sue after she's been murdered, and there was a line in there that the league was going to go out searching for them.
Yeah.
And there was a line that they were hoping that, heaven help them if John's the Manhunter or if Aquaman found them, because they both had children murdered.
Yeah.
And, that's just, again, he did his research, but heaven help them if, they're the ones that had family members murdered.
While the big ones went, the other lower members of the league were like, okay, let them go be showboats. We're going to go do the real work.
Right.
And then the brilliance of what they did with Dr. Light has been a part of the story. And how after this, here he started out as a JLA villain, and then he becomes a villain the Teen Titans deal with.
Yeah.
Here was a major, downgrade in, who he's going up against, and find out there's a reason.
Yep.
So, I mean, brilliant. Brad Meltzer, aces, man.
Kevin,
Good
great
pick,
voice, man.
Thank you.
Amazing. All right. So my last pick is a Hickman epic that leads you into Secret Wars. And that is Avengers Time Runs Out. This was the start of the finale of Hickman's multi-year run on Avengers. And this is where everything really started to come together and lead up to the end of the 616 and the Ultimates universe proper, when the worlds finally collided, and then Battle World was created afterward, and Doom holds everything together by sheer will alone.
Yeah.
Time Runs Out leads into all of that. It's four trades going over all the major Avengers titles at the time, but so much is revealed during that time period, and just watching Thanos and Namor and the Obsidian Order and Terrax going from world to world to world to, on the surface, try and stop things, but after a while just to go and kill everybody. It is unreal, and they go to worlds that are so similar to the 616 universe that maybe a blade of grass is different, but they just eviscerate characters, and they pull no punches. Hickman pulled no punches in that story. And the revelations with Doctor Doom and Molecule Man and things like that. If you weren't reading Avengers, and then all of a sudden, bam, Secret Wars happens, you're like, where did all this come from? Well, Hickman's been doing it for the past 5 years on Avengers, so there's that. It's a long read, but for one of what I think is one of the greatest major modern storylines to come out in a while, Secret Wars, Time Runs Out is a necessity to read modern comic books at its finest, at least on Marvel's side.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Fair.
All right. Sal, what about you? What's your last?
Oh, well, I'm probably going to upset a few people.
Uh-oh.
We won't mention any names from the Codex station. But I'm going to go with the Uncanny X-Men Dark Phoenix run.
Nice.
Kristen
love
would
that
not
run.
be happy with you right now.
We weren't going to mention any names.
Oh, I'll mention her name. That's fine.
Kristen, we love you, but
You know,
I have to.
Well, I
have
look
to say
forward to finding out why she didn't like it. I mean, I'm fascinated at that.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
me too.
another episode right there. We'll talk
Yeah.
about
Another
Dark
episode.
Phoenix. Yeah.
I just think this is one of the epic runs that actually really put X-Men into, or catapulted them into the limelight type of situation. You know, they got the new team. They all of a sudden Jean Grey gets the power of the Phoenix. They got firepower now, and they're more offensive than they were. They used to be like more of a defensive type of, scenario, you might say. They always show up to save something or do something, or if they're attacked, they defend. But with Phoenix, I felt like they were more offensive.
That
they
new
would go
team,
out.
though, they really got put through the paces from
They
page
did.
one.
Yeah.
Just
If it wasn't one thing, it was another thing right after another. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And they got their ass kicked.
a
Magneto
lot.
kicked their
Yeah.
ass.
They did.
Juggernaut
They did.
kicked their ass.
Yep.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
Well, they should.
And there was I'll give one panel shout out, and they were doing a Trojan horse sneaking into the Hellfire Club, and Jean Grey is piloting the I guess the guy that's driving the car, and they're all supposed to be knocked out or tied up in the back, and she's doing that where she's controlling him with like no effort. Scott Summers is like, oh my god, she's like doing this so easy, where she's controlling him. But that thug's name, if you remember, the White Queen was like, wow, they captured the X-Men. His team is not really equipped to do that. They did that. What was that thug's name? Come
Joe
on.
Chill?
No.
I have no idea.
I'll give you a hint. He's on the Codex team right now.
Sonny.
No, Salvatore.
Oh, Salvatore.
Oh.
There you
So,
go.
Salvatore's team was not equipped to take down the X-Men. How did they do it? That type of thing. But she was controlling him like a puppet through the whole Trojan horse that they got inside.
And I love the fact that Mastermind was using her as a puppet the entire time.
That's also true. Well, he was using some type of mechanical device that projected his illusions into Jean Grey's mind to give her those time slips.
So many layers going on in Dark Phoenix. Claremont, where Jeff Johns was born to write Green Lantern, Claremont was born to write the X-Men.
Agreed.
100% agree on that.
Yep.
So there you have it.
What she did to Mastermind. Ooh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was impressive.
Some people can handle experience. Some people can't.
Yeah.
And again, this is a storyline that Sal, we've talked about this before. This is a storyline that made Wolverine a star.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't know the issue number, but that's where he's fighting all the Hellfire.
133.
The last panel of 132.
Mm-hmm.
And
You've
then
had your fun,
133,
suckers. Now it's my turn.
Wow.
Yep.
All
Listen,
right.
I'm probably the only one. Maybe Sal, did you read that?
There.
Sal, you read that book. Didn't you say that was your first issue of X-Men 132?
With 133 where he was fighting.
Okay. So
yes.
I'm the only one that read it when it came out. So I'm reading 132, and the last page, Wolverine, who supposedly drowned, comes out of the sewer, and like Kevin said, all right, suckers, you had your shot. Now it's my turn. I was like, oh my god, and I had to wait a month. I had to wait a month for the next issue. Are you freaking kidding me? Oh my god, it was just. But it was just one of those great things that you remember. You're reading and you're so involved, and you can't believe you got to wait a month. It was amazing.
I still feel that way with new issues. Well, Uncle Gary, give us the last bit of this. Let us know your third and final top story.
This is so painful, goddamn it.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree. So before I'm just gonna say one thing. Now, I had said that JLA Avengers is my favorite superhero comic of all time. My favorite non-superhero book. Because of the long run of it, I didn't pick this, but it's Preacher. So I just want to say that. That's my favorite non-superhero book, but I would consider that as a longer run, just like I would that Spectre.
Yeah, that's a whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, going with shorter runs in this, what I think is a masterpiece is the first 10 issues of Swamp Thing. The Roots of the Swamp Thing by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson.
Yes.
This is a gothic, and I know we've shown the art before, but this is a gothic horror story.
If you want a closer look at that artwork, watch Uncle Gary's Comic Emporium, and you will get to see it in detail.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we have here, you know, the great monster tales, I always loved where there's a person that has been transformed, right? And there's such a pathos to this, you know, because this is a muck encrusted mockery of a man, he is referred to on many times. Tragic accident, agents working against the U.S. government, scientists, and of you all, how many of you read these 10 issues of you guys? Okay, guys, if you get the chance, these things have been collected many times. The art is amazing. Len Wein, amazing writer, the two of these guys together. So especially if you love the horror aspect of things, just the first issue, you're dealing with government agents that sabotage things, and Alec Holland is working on a bio-restorative formula for plants that is going to cause, and this is something that's happened in real life in the past 30 years, to have plants have bigger yields, bigger seed heads, because we have famine in the world.
Monsanto, anybody?
Yeah, exactly. Things like that. So he is doused in this chemical with this, this espionage that they've exploded since they can't get the formula from him. And he's doused with it. He jumps in the swamp as he dies, and then he becomes the Swamp Thing. So now he's trapped in this body. So we get that for the first issue. The second issue, we get an evil wizard, scientist, and Anton Arcane. The third issue, we get a Frankenstein-type monster, the Patchwork Man. The fourth issue, we get a werewolf story. And I showed the art. We've seen the art, the werewolf art. Sal, you were with me on that, how fantastic that is. Yep. Kevin, you know the story.
Very much.
The fifth issue, and he's trying to get home the whole time. Yeah. So, because this happens in the bayou, and then Arcane has got him in Europe, and then he's coming back. He's in Scotland for the werewolf story. He gets back to New England. He's got witches he's dealing with now. The sixth issue, he comes with a town that there's robotic creatures that have been created. The seventh issue, he gets to Gotham, and he finds out who, some dark, shadowy forces that have been working against him the whole time. And it's an epic Batman team, Batman kind of crossover, not really a team up. Swamp Thing hands Batman his ass when he's tired of dealing with him.
I only have one Swamp Thing book, and that is Swamp Thing Volume 2, Number 1.
And here's another little bit of trivia. Matthew the Raven from Sandman's fame originated over in that run of Swamp Thing.
Yeah, Matthew Cable was an FBI agent that was set to guard Alec Holland. Right. And when Holland died, he felt guilt that Holland died, and then he thought the swamp creature was somehow responsible for it. Didn't realize the Swamp Thing was him. And Abby Arcane was his girlfriend. Yes. So that's how Abby came to be in. And Abby Arcane's also the niece of Anton Arcane. Right. So the eighth issue was a demonic creature that was living in a mine. So you get these great horror trips, and he's just trying to get home. Yeah. And the people that did the Incredible Hulk in the 70s, it had a very melancholy theme, and Banner was going from town to town. And again, you had a man trapped inside a monster's body, and it had this pathos about it. I certainly believe these guys were influenced by these stories because of the tone that the Incredible Hulk had. The ninth issue, which is that cover that that I'm always showing, that I love so much. The ninth issue, my favorite cover of all time. Wow, there's an alien, and it's truly, Kevin, how tragic is that story, right? Just heartbreakingly tragic, that story. And then the 10th issue, which was Bernie's last issue on it. It was Bernie's last issue, and speaking of Bernie, signed by Bernie, baby.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
Nice.
Gary, signed by Bernie.
Love it.
It is one of the greatest ghost stories I've ever read in comics. Do you remember the ghost story, Kevin?
Of course.
With Jubal Early? Oh, my God. And Arcane comes back. things do not work out well for Arcane, and Swamp Thing has nothing to do with it. But it is a fantastic ghost story set in the bayou. It is amazing. It is violent. It is gothic. It is fan-freaking-tastic.
It's
And
all
then
great.
Bernie left after issue 10. Ween wrote the last three more issues, and then he left. But those first 10 issues, and I got to say, the 8-page House of Secrets story that was the first appearance of Swamp Thing. It's a swamp creature, but it's not Alec Holland. It's actually Alex Olson. But the first 10 issues of Swamp Thing, magnificent story, art. It's got heart. It's got tragedy. It's got pathos. It is just, I think it's graphic novel storytelling at its finest.
Agreed. And I would go so far as to say keep reading, and then it becomes the saga of something written by Alan Moore. And in that run, they introduced John Constantine. It's
absolutely
it's remarkably highly rated for a damn reason.
Amazing character. It's an amazing character.
Well, gentlemen, I think that with all of the stories that we have chosen on this episode, that leaves some amazing reading. I mean, Swamp Thing, Sandman Mystery Theater, Nightfall, Time Runs Out, Craven's Last Hunt, so much more, guys. Write these stories down so that way you can find them at your local comic shop, or go on eBay or Amazon if you can find them, wherever you can get a hold of them. Get the trades. Most of these things are in available trades right now. The JLA and Avengers one may be a little more difficult, but
your best option there, Tim, is to buy the original 4 issues.
That's right. Yeah, because those are out there and those are available.
Support your local library.
Support your local comic shop. There you go. All right, gentlemen, it is late. We need to get out of here. Some of us in our 40s need our beauty rest. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys have enjoyed sitting here with us tonight. We have enjoyed telling you how awesome these stories are and just how much they mean to us and how much they will mean to you after you read them. So if you liked what you saw, do me a favor, go ahead and head over to your favorite social media platform or where we're live streaming right now at the Codex station. Make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe, and follow. I know for a fact, because I look at the analytics, that half of you watching this aren't even subscribed right now, but you watch all the time. So just do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, take it out to dinner. Be sure to kiss it good night, but don't stay the night. First night's not for that. You can do that after the second night. But yeah, go ahead and do that. It'd be amazing. It'd be wonderful. We would love you for it forever.
Yes.
Like, share, subscribe, and follow, ladies and gentlemen. Also, make sure to head over and get some awesome merch right here. It's got my beautiful face on the back of it. I'm not egotistical or anything. TheCodexStation.com. Get some merch, meet the team, and so much more. Sal, let everybody know where they can find you when you're not doing Codex stuff.
Okay, you can always find me on YouTube under Sal's Comic Corner, and when Dan the Man from Instagram allows it, you can find me on Instagram as the Slab Guy 77.
Dan rules Instagram with an iron fist that is slightly rusty.
He's like the Asbat. We hate him, but we love him.
Master.
Right, that's right. Slam the door in your face. Kevin, you got a Facebook community that is pretty awesome and where all of us are together and most of us met. What would that be?
Created a group over on Facebook, like Tim was saying, called Comic Character of the Day. Opie does all the cool artwork as far as the old classic covers that he puts up on there every day, which right there, in my opinion, is worth the price of admission.
There you go.
Become part of our family, and we'd love to have you over there.
Right on. Right. Uncle Gary, what's going on, man? Where can we find you when you're not doing Codex stuff?
Before I tell you that, I just want to say, unlike Tim, I'm a big fan, a big proponent of staying the whole night the first night. So I'm just saying.
And
I'm
making
saying-
breakfast next morning.
I'm just saying it's worked for me. Don't give up on that. You gotta live
Do
the
you
dream,
like
baby.
blueberries or strawberries? Because I want to know what kind of pancakes to make
That's
you in
right.
the morning.
That's right, baby.
Mm.
You can see me. I'm on Facebook as Opie Taylor. Putting covers on Kevin's fantastic site, Comic Character of the Day. He turned the reins over to me to put the covers up, and it's been old school city, baby. So
He's been slaughtering it.
yeah, well, I appreciate that. And it's a fun. It's a really great site, and sometimes, and a lot of times, we sync up the character of the day and the cover of the day. So it's kind of fun for me to see who he's going to pick as character, and I'm like, okay, I got a cover for that. So you can see me there. Also, I am the proud one of the proud co-owners of Comic Logic, Loudoun County, Virginia's only comic book store. And you can see me there every Wednesday picking up my weekly fix, man. I got to be there. Got to get my books. We'd love to talk to you. Love to chat at you. If you're in Northern Virginia, come see us. Come say hi. And if you can't come in person, we also, the first 3 Thursdays every week, or every month rather, we have a Facebook Live show. The first one is a preview show where we discuss the new books that are coming out through the Previews magazine, and we give hints. We give tips on what we think is going to be a good book, and so that's kind of informative. And then the second, third Thursday, we have our Grumpier Old Nerds show, where we are just 3 old men, 3 of the owners. We sit around, we talk comics, we talk sports, we talk pop culture, we talk all the wonderful, senseless things old men talk about.
Get off my lawn.
Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us tonight. And whether it's the first date or the 5th date, make sure to kiss your books goodnight and tuck them into the long and short boxes. There you go. And wish them sweet and wonderful dreams. My name is Tim. This guy over here is Sal the Slab Guy. Down below is the man that will escort you to the door, the Ric Flair of comic books, Uncle Gary himself. And right next to him is the man that will give you another glass of wine because you didn't ask for it, Archduke Kevy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Breaking the Code, top 3 stories. We will see you next time.